Today, I have some great writing advice for you. If you're a new writer and you're trying to get your story to the next level, or if you have something written today and you're trying to really widen your audience, welcome to Kauffman Writes. I'm Kauffman, and this is my daily creative writing live stream where I provide you creative writing tips, tricks, strategies, and we talk through all things creative writing. Welcome. So, we're going to hop right into the first segment, your creative writing questions answered. Question number one: what are some tips for new creative writers who are just getting started? All right. So, first thing I want you to do, I want you to try this strategy. Go onto social media, whatever social media you have, whichever one you prefer. And then you're going to now set a timer on your phone, set a timer for 5 minutes. Okay. So, once you set that timer, hit start, turn it over, and don't look at it. Now you're going to scroll through your newsfeed of whatever social media, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, you name it. Scroll through that newsfeed and start looking for what are the types of things that just interest you. Now, as you're scrolling, because you've set a timer, you're intentional with this time. Once the timer goes off, you're going to leave the social media page. You're going to open your Word app processor or pull up the app on your phone or pull open a notebook. And then I want you to start writing the first thing that comes to mind. The reason this will help you is because you've now just used what you're influenced by, which the algorithm on whatever social media platform you use has gotten to know you over the time that you've been using social media. You're going to use those inspirations to now write your first story or write your next story or write the thing that'll just help you try something different. Let me know if that tip or that advice works for you. I've tried that myself and I would check out like influencers. I would see things for like YouTubers and then writers and then little like puppy or cat videos. And then after I did that for a few minutes, that gave me like really cool ideas for a free write. So that'll be something that'll help you out if you're just getting started as a new creative writer. If you're looking for advice on how to just like get started, pick up a pen, pick up a paper, and start writing. Don't worry about what comes out. It's all good. It could be the worst thing in the world, could be the best thing in the world, but the goal is just to write. Start writing and only make it only do it for 5 minutes. Make it as easy as possible. And trust me, you will really enjoy it. Maybe you'll start like your next story. I've been doing a free write now every day, and I've gotten free writes, a whole novel. Like you don't know what's going to come until you try. All right. So, question number two: how do I build a following for a story? Now, if let's say that you have a story already and you're looking to really take it to the next level by putting it out there and trying to get people to come to you. If, let's say that you have a story, or maybe it's a script or something to that effect, you want to ask yourself, who is your intended audience? Who's your intended reader? This could be called a readership. Who is the individual that you want to check out this piece of literature? Then what you want to go do on social media, go get involved in groups or connect with people individually who have that same interest. It is going to take some time, but what you want to do is you want to find the people who actively would like to read the type of thing that you're putting out. Another suggestion that I saw recently, as part of this writer's Zoom call, was mentioned writers networks, conventions are a great place to go meet other people who are also interested in the same thing. And what better way to bring more people to your following than others who are in the same boat as you? And then if you want somebody to read your work, instead of just being like, hey, can you read my stuff? Because that's a time commitment, that's a time ask. You want to offer equal value. So instead, phrase it like this: hey, I'm a writer and I have a story that I need read. I'd be happy to read one of your pieces or an excerpt of your piece if you could check out a piece of mine. And that's just a very simple way of getting the ball started, right? And you want to ask yourself, what type of connection, what type of relationship am I starting? And then if they're interested in it, of course they'll want to keep reading it. But it's a good way to start when you're building that audience readership in the very beginning. All right. And question number 3. I finished the first draft of my story. How do I make it better? Something I always like to do when I get to a second or generally my third draft. So you've had your first draft is written, it's done and it's all completed. Now what you want to do is you want to print it out, go get a printer, print it out, do whatever you need to put it into a different type of format. So if you've been writing in a journal, then put it onto the computer. If you've been writing on the computer, print it out. If it's on your phone, send it, email it to yourself and put it in a different medium. What you then want to do is you want to open it and read aloud through it. Do it by yourself, go into a quiet room, play some nice epic writer music, and then read it aloud. Make comments and notes along if you want. But the goal is when you started writing the rough draft originally, this was all in your head and you're writing it step by step by step. And now by hearing it, it's going to give you new context and a new idea on like, oh, you know what? Maybe I missed this or maybe I missed that. And it's another way of editing your work and really getting it to that next level. Now, of course, you can also give it to friends or family to read and you can have them give you feedback. My only challenge to that is your friends and family love you, so they might not want to hurt your feelings if it sucks. The only way you're going to improve is if you get somebody who has not who is going to give you real feedback. Hey, what's up? Welcome, Vaughn. Let's see. Oh, I wrote a story today. Actually, it started in my journal and then turned into a story, and then I went with a poem instead. Oh, that's great, actually. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's story. So it was a journal entry and then it was a poem. That's definitely happened to me actually a couple times, and not from a story to a poem, but when I've done I want to say a script or a short story. There's been a couple times where I started off like writing a scene for a script, and then as I was writing the dialogue and the action, I'm like, that would actually be a better short story. I am of the belief that all storytelling can be similar. It's just spread across different types of mediums. So whether or not you're making a script or whether or not you're making a short story, it's the storytelling at heart is the same. What changes is the structure. In a script, you're focusing on dialogue and action to tell the theme of the story. In a novel, you're using action and interiority and dialogue to tell the story you want to tell. It's just different mediums. And I think some stories can be better told on the screen. Some stories can be better told elsewhere. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Mom. All right. So that was a couple questions for you to help you become a better writer. Now, I mentioned a writing game if you want to be involved. The past couple of days I've just been doing a word association. I think today I'm going to pose a question of the day to you. If you're in the comments, feel free to respond. Let me think. The question of the day. Let's see. If this is a great one. All right. If you could exist in any magical universe, which one would it be and why? So feel free to drop a comment if you want to respond to my question of the day. If you could exist in any magical universe, which one would it be and why? For myself, let me think. I would probably want to be in like the Harry Potter universe and do spells, Hogwarts. How cool would that be? Be able to shoot spells at people and do everything with that type of magic. I think that's the first thing that comes to mind. If you could exist in any magical universe, which one would you choose to exist in and why? Drop that in the comments if you're joining me on the live. All right. So I'm going to go straight into my writing today. We're going to go to our creative writing day challenge. And we're on challenge and day 35. How time flies when you're having fun. All right. So first thing, I'm going to throw up the music. Let's make sure we got, there we go. Perfect. So we got the music up here for y'all. I'm going to throw that up. All right. And actually, before we get there, let me just blurb this. So if you found any, oh my God, I'm like tongue tied today. If you found value from any of the questions that I've shared previously and anything has helped you or you want to try it, drop a comment down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe this live stream or the video, the replay, so you'll be alerted when I come out with new live streams and new daily creative writing tips. And let's go straight into our writing challenge. So if you've been involved, you know I am on Last Scarecrow. Now, Vaughn, if you're there, you know that I was we went through quite a writing journey yesterday. I was like, I want to say that I was writing. I did like a good 2.5 hours of writing. And sometimes that just happens when you like really get into the zone, and you're like, okay, that was some good stuff. All right, I'm going to bring myself up here. I'm going to start my 30-minute timer. And let's see where we're at. So I know the next part of the story, we're essentially going to be starting the heroes on their journey. And I want to pull up my outline so I can be clear on what it is that I want to do next. Awesome. All right, so I got my outline pulled up over here. Now, yesterday I wrote a good deal of pages, only a few were. All right, so like I need to, so I know this is going to be a couple pages, but for my own benefit, I need to read part of this backstory aloud to make sure that it actually makes sense. All right, let's see. So I'm going to start after the attack from the first demon. Let's see. Since the end of humanity's era, all that time ago, the last robot's voice echoed out from every corner of the world. The last scarecrow fell farther and farther down through a cloudy landscape. He saw an image of the first demon continuing its assault on the remaining creators in New City. Some creators fell with that dazed look in their eyes, as if even they were unaware of their demise, while others tried to fight back unsuccessfully. The creature had a speed, flight, and a physical attack that appeared unmatched. Speed, fight, and a physical prowess that appeared unmatched. Had an unmatched, nope, that's better. An unmatched creature had a speed, flight, and an unmatched physical prowess. There we go. The first demon has only grown in power, consuming all those around it. Images of creators falling to their knees were mixed with that of animals suddenly collapsing. Their lives being drained from them in an array of colors that left them a gray pile of their former selves. Whatever remaining souls who chose to fight back were defeated before the fight ever begun. And this phenomenon came to be called more images of animals and creators collapsing, drained of color, energy, and life. The nothingness. The Scarecrow kept falling through this clouded space, but he no longer felt anything. For now, he was consumed by the last robot's story. For he was consumed by the last robot's story. But he no longer felt anything. Since he was but he no longer felt anything since he was consumed by the last robot's story. I think it's going to go here. All right. My friend left me with one clear instruction. An image of the betrayer and the last robot looking out from atop the tower. They stood behind the gigantic container, now filled to the top with the shiny golden liquid. That might lead to dealing with the first demon's magic should he fail. The betrayer held out a neatly folded quilt, which the last Scarecrow recognized as none other than Mr. Quilt from his journey. However, it looked like any ordinary blanket in the image, and only that quilt could guide the way through the graveyard of the last, where he had been led to believe a more worthy magic might reside. The last robot and the betrayer embraced. The look on his face was etched with resolution and despair. Before he embarked, and was never seen again. The betrayer picked up a pack, grabs the stuff, leaving the city behind. An image of the last robot peering out from atop the ruby red tower. That was so many eras ago. His failure must have been inevitable, for the creators of that age are no more. Exist no more. The last robot sits on a ledge just outside the tower window, gazing down upon a now ruined new city, with a crystallizing red road that continues to spread out, overtaking the ruins like a plague. The unfortunate flaws of my design left me tethered to watch the world age and decay before me. The last robot paces around the room in circles. The flooring is clearly damaged from the amount of pacing he has done, and the tank beside him is now only half full. While I attempted to create clever ways to reach out and test those still alive with the resources at my disposal, images appeared of bright flashes in the sky, animals bouncing, hopping, and crawling through traps of fire and destruction. Only a few were successful, and those that did were not suited for the challenge. The last robot sits, crumpled in the corner of the room. Most of his body has now been rusted away. The nearby tank is less than a quarter full of the golden substance. A pair of squirrels, slightly larger than the typical ones he had interacted with before, sat hunched on the last robot's shoulders. Mr. Crow flew in through the window and perched atop the last robot's head. I had calculated the odds of success to overcome the first demon's magic and to locate the graveyard of the last, which even I had never heard of, was minimal. There would be one chance, one shot, one attempt, and try as I might, I failed. The image of the last robot's current state is very vivid now. Mr. Crow takes off from out of the window and soars away, leaving New City behind. The picture vanishes, and the last Scarecrow lands squarely on an airy ground. The world around him is clear, white, and cloudy. The last robot stands before him in all its glory. Scarecrow, you showed bravery and courage in my test, but failed when confronted with fear. The last robot approached him and planted his hand on his shoulder. It felt cold and distant. The last Scarecrow gazed into its shining eyes, wrapped up entirely in... The last Scarecrow gazed into its shining eyes. The last robot approached him and planted his hand on his shoulder. It felt cold and distant. The last Scarecrow gazed into its shining eyes. Regardless, my time is no more. undertake this journey. The last robot's features lit up in the most brilliant display of colors and lights he had ever witnessed. He was in awe. The world flashed around them. The last scarecrow stood once again in the tower before the last robot. Or let the world perish. The last robot's words echoed in his mind. On the ground before him, the last robot's lights were no more. The last scarecrow fell to his knees and cried. Now, as I go through this again, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep the crying bit. I wanted it to have this dramatic effect. So I'm like, okay, well, is the scarecrow at a point where he wants to cry? But I think the emotional resonance from his brief interaction with the last robot really took him through the understanding of what happened to the world. The age of humanity ended when something started happening to humans, turning them into animals. A creature that was, and this is a result from whatever the betrayer did, and then a creature with the betrayer and the last robot, which we now know as the first demon, basically started killing off the rest of humanity, and started killing off just life itself. And that has been a very long time ago. We also know the weather is screwed up, so something's wrong with nature. And basically, the first demon is responsible for messing up the world. However, this was a huge backstory. So I think the one thing I'm going to have to remember is to highlight the amount of time that it's been since this happened. I think that's one thing. I kind of leave it as a vague, oh, this happened a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. But I intentionally didn't really set oh, this happened 1,000 years ago. And that's something I'm still kind of thinking about. It feels like it might be better to leave it vague, but I have to give it some thought. All right, in the meantime, it's time to continue their journey, which I am excited about. So, journey to the graveyard of the last. And this is really the beginning of their the B story, or not the Act 2, which is their journey. Now, the goal of the second act, or the goal of the second portion of the story, is going to be how they encounter different portions and they're going to encounter different environments. I'll give you a couple examples. They're going to encounter a garden. So they're going to encounter a garden with strange creatures, maybe pixie. No, it's going to be fruit, vegetables, things that have kind of come to life, and it's going to be messing with them. They're going to encounter a group of tricksters who were once children, might have been animals. They're going to become prisoners. They're going to deal with a range of beasts and creatures in a Colosseum type environment. And they're going to meet a number of characters along the way that are going to join them. Now, the characters that I want to join the last scarecrow is probably going to be a mix of different either creatures or objects that now have either come to life or now have realistic human-like elements as a result of magic. But the challenge, and this is what I need to show, is that the further the scarecrow goes, the more he starts helping and bringing to life those around him, but the more himself and the world is losing their capability to think and be alive. Essentially, the world's dying, and I need to figure out the right ways to show the first demon's influence as they go and travel to each setting. All right, so let's start on this, and let's see where. So right now, I have the last scarecrows with Mr. Crow. So we have the scarecrow and the bird, and I think they're going to find the quilt because he fell to his knees. All right. Hey, what's up, Jessica? Welcome. Thanks for the like. Appreciate you hopping on. By the way, if you're hopping on into the live stream or if you're watching this on the replay, I threw up a question of the day. Feel free to answer it. I'd love to hear your response. Hey, welcome, Kimberly. Thanks for the like. Appreciate you. Welcome to Kauffman Writes. If you're just hopping into the live stream, feel free to drop a comment in our question of the day or join me in writing. It's funny. I'm having this like sentimental moment between the last Scarecrow and Mr. Crow, and I'm like, okay, so the crow's perched on his hand as last Scarecrow is like telling him like, all right, we're going on this journey. You could die, so on and so forth. And I'm like, all right, well, how does the crow respond in a way that's like, all right, this is a good moment. And then I'm like, okay, so what the crow is going to do, Mr. Crow is going to lift his head up and bring the beak down. He's going to do a crow tap. It's a deal. Awesome. Welcome to Kauffman Writes. We're just question of the day. Let's see. Vaughn. So once again, so the question is, if you could exist in any magical universe, which one would it be and why? And Vaughn, you said heaven. I would totally go to heaven. I was like, wow, yeah, you'd probably have quite a lot of like, I guess like freedom, free will, abilities. Like, who knows? Like the mind is the limit. It's interesting you say heaven. My mind has totally been wrapped around this animated show lately called Has Been Hotel. And like when I'm thinking of heaven right now, I'm like, that's where my mind goes to. I feel like there's so many different like versions of doing like the hell approach or the heaven and or the hell approach. I think it'd be interesting and like, all right, well, how do you explore the dynamic of what heaven could be like in a way that hasn't been done before? And I think that could make for a fun short story, also, or a fun long story, depending on what you want to write. Let's see. Vaughn. So the other writer who was talking about fusion today also sounds kind of cool. Like we just did that for the first time in our country and society. So by the way, if you're hopping into the live stream, we were part of a Creative Writers Zoom call earlier, which is super cool. We got so much value out of it. If you actually want to join us in the future, it sounds like people got some value out of it. Hop over to the creative writing. It's called like a creative writing Facebook group, and you can see more details there. I posted a creative writing event. You can find it. I posted it on my Facebook as well. But we had this really cool, here, I'll pull myself up. So we had this really cool creative writers Zoom meeting, and we got to connect with other creative writers, and it was really cool. I want to say there was about 10 of us, and each of the creative writers, I would say everyone on there came from a different background and had different experience. And we talked about things like publishing was a big one. That's like I made a list of notes here. What was it? Yeah, I made a list of notes. We talked about like networking, writing a blurb. One of the creative writers shared that one of her like main things for working on stories, and we could tell that she has a lot of experience in the industry. The 4 things she shared, which I love the is it alliteration? Maybe. Jared, I might need a brain. All right, so it was patience, passion, patience, persistence, and practice. The 4 P's. I'm pretty sure alliteration. Huh. When you're using that same vowel or that same sound to prove a point. Passion, patience, persistence, and practice to prove a point. But Vaughn, you were saying talking about fusion today also sounds kind of cool. So which part are you talking about though specifically when you're talking about fusion? So we just did that for the first time in our country and society. clarify a little bit more. I want to make sure that I best understand. But we definitely got a lot of value. What were other things? We talked about like writer's block. I know I touched upon a couple of the creative writing tips that were front of mind earlier on in the live stream. But if you're on now, the tips that I had was writer's block, make sure to take breaks. Definitely make sure to take breaks if you're been working on something for a while and you're like, all right, I need a breather now. I was like, all right, I need to like pull yourself. It's okay to take breaks. It is quite all right. I'm going to like reiterate this. Let's say you've been like writing for a while, or you've been working on story or forums or posts or whatever. It's okay to like step away for like a week, 2 weeks, a month. Just when you step away, make sure that you're intentional with when you're going to come back. I've worked with too many writers where they finished a book or they finished a story and they're like, yeah, I need a break. And then they like don't write for a year. Like, don't do that. Otherwise, then you'll get out of the habit. Take a break. Be like, all right, I'm going to take a break from writing for 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, I'm going to come back to it. I'm going to get back into a same routine or different. But that way you can still be intentional when you take breaks. Let's see, Vaughn, you said unlimited energy. Yeah, that was really interesting. I feel like energy is such a it's such a factor in the amount that you're going to be able to put out for writing and the amount that you're going to be able to put out for your creativity. It's really interesting. I feel like ever since I've started my journey back in, or at least this portion of my journey, I'm spending so much time creating different types of writing, different pieces. And that's on top of like this novel that I'm working on. I started The Last Scarecrow as 5-minute free write. And now I'm like, where am I at now, actually? That's a good question. I haven't checked. I'm like 60 or 70 pages now. 66. I know a lot of writers will reference things in like word count. I feel like I'm used to like page count. Page count's always what worked for me. But yeah, so we definitely got a lot of value. What were some other creative writing tips that worked? Writing, getting feedback. Make sure that if you write, you work on a story, once you're done with it, have somebody else read it, and have somebody who can give you like real feedback. The only challenge with family members is sometimes they're going to layer it on or layer over being nice, and they might not give you like the best stuff that's really going to improve it because they don't want to hurt you. Tell them it's all right to get the worst feedback. Based on whoever you have read it, because the only way your story is going to improve is real, honest feedback. And then it's going to get better. And you can publish it, put it out there, whatever you want. Let's see. Yeah, those are some of the things that came to mind. Yeah, but thanks for sharing that, Vaughn. As we're hitting an hour now, let's see, I'm going to hop over to what I'm doing next. But once again, if you joined me for the live stream today and or the replay, and you found any value from any of like the tips, the strategies, or even you just enjoyed hopping along for the ride, don't forget to like and or subscribe this video. And I come out with new creative writing live streams, videos, shorts, you name it, every single day. You can find all of it on my Kauffman's Corner channel or through Facebook. Additionally, if you want to know when I'm next going to be live, I'm getting into the habit of posting my weekly schedule on Sundays. Because right now I'm adjusting times that work and times I'm like, okay, well, when is it best for like, when do I think creative writers are going to be most available and be able to come hang out and write with us? So yeah, this tomorrow for Monday, I'm probably thinking I'll go live. It'll probably be like a 5 Pacific is kind of my gut right now, but I'll throw up the my schedule up on both my YouTube channel and my Facebook later this evening. So that way you can see what my schedule will be like for next week if you want to hop in the next live stream. With that, I'm going to call it a day. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining this journey. Once again, I'm Kauffman, and I'll catch you on the morrow.